Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and this is the edition of No Capes, where I talk about books that have nothing to do with superheroes, and either Ethan doesn't read them or he doesn't review them along with me. First up, I am going to talk about The End Times of Bram and Ben #1. Had to special order this from Midtown because I was stupid and didn't order it. Okay, so let's talk about it. I love this cover. Love the art of the cover. Unfortunately, the artist on the cover is not the artist on the inside. Not that the artist inside is bad, just I like the cover art better than the interior art. Basic synopsis for this book is the rapture has happened, supposedly. Millions of people have disappeared off the face of the earth. These two roommates, Bram and Ben. Ben's actually a pretty decent guy. Bram's kind of a partying, kind of a jerk of sorts, self-centered, narcissistic kind of a guy. He gets raptured. He gets sucked up. And then a few minutes later, he gets shot back down from heaven because heaven made a clerical error and accidentally scooped him up, even though he shouldn't have been. That's the basic premise. And the idea is what, there's all these books and movies and all that kind of stuff about people who are really, really good, but not quite good enough to make it to the rapture, but they're left on Earth to fight this war on Earth and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And these writers just thought, hey, you know what? What about just Joe Average? What about just the normal guy and the rapture happened? How do they handle that? What do they deal with and whatnot? It's kind of a comedy of sorts. It's got lots of kind of funny things in it. It kind of doesn't make fun of religion, but kind of pokes fun, and it makes somewhat light of the whole idea of the rapture and what does that mean, and different things. And there are some funny stuff in this. Some of it's childish, kind of 8th grade type humor, but still kind of funny. The guys that are left behind, they're like, hey, you know what? I can score any day now, kind of opinion, because obviously all the prudes who didn't put out got sucked up to heaven, so that means all the girls that are left on the planet must be easy. They're obviously going to find out very quickly that that is not the case. It's not going to be quite so easy to get laid as what they're commenting here. There's some other funny stuff, just the whole idea of the rapture and the fact that this guy who thought he was a pretty good guy, now he's contemplating, okay, why didn't I get brought up? I was a good guy. And it shows him in his college days, and they're rolling marijuana joints, and they're using biblical pages to roll marijuana joints. Gee, maybe that's why he didn't get pulled up into the rapture or whatever. Bram describes heaven as basically being this place where nobody wears any clothes, which you think would be really awesome, but no, most of the people who are in heaven are people who are really old and crinkly, and it's actually pretty disgusting to have to see all these naked people walking around who are a bunch of old, gross-looking people, in his opinion, and whatnot. The one thing about this book that kind of bothered me, and I don't know if I'm just being extra sensitive or I'm reading something into it that's not there or whatnot. When the rapture first happens, it shows different places where people are disappearing, and like the news people are going, millions of people disappear, blah, blah, blah. It's just showing these different places in the world. And it gets to Istanbul, Turkey, right? And there are a whole bunch of people in a market, and one guy's looking at the other guy in the market, and they go, oh, so anything going on? Nope, nothing going on here. And then it goes on to another panel of different places where people are disappearing. So in Istanbul, Turkey, nobody disappears. So it's a Muslim country. Am I reading too much into the fact? Are they implying that because they're Muslims, they aren't involved in the rapture? Or, I know I don't know enough about the Muslim religion to know if they have some equivalent to the rapture or not, or if that's just a whatever, not to talk religion here too specifically to offend anybody. But I was curious about that. I'm curious, is that some sort of commentary on the writer's behalf? Are they saying something about a Muslim state that I don't understand? Anybody else read this book? Anybody else catch that and wonder what's that about? This is a fun book. I don't know that I'd be super excited to go out and buy it. If you're amused by kind of the poking the fun at the stuff, that kind of stuff, it might be your cup of tea and whatnot. The back of this thing I thought was kind of funny. Okay, so you got your stereotypical United States kind of, we want you, Uncle Sam thing, except obviously it looks like Christ or something like that. And it says here, I want you, and it's got a big old asterisk there. And it says, I want you for the rapture at the end of days, right? And the asterisk. And the asterisk, it says, unless you are an idol worshiper, a blasphemer, a bad son, daughter, a murderer, an adulterer, a thief, a liar, a hoarder, a sorceress, and or a sorceress protector, an interest charger, a lamb, ox, goat, rabbit, bacon, and or shellfish eater, a menstruating woman and or someone who touches one, a wearer of mixed fiber clothing, someone who shaves, someone with tattoos, an illegal alien suppressor, married to a widow, and are not said widow's brother-in-law. For further details, exclusions, and punishments, see the Bible. Meanwhile, enjoy this apocalyptic misadventure of those left behind at theendoftimes.com. At any rate, kind of funny. That's kind of amusing. I thought that was, the back of it was kind of amusing. The art is, simple, somewhat cartoonish. It was fun. I'm looking forward to the next issue to see what kind of amusement and what kind of trouble they get themselves into, because Bram has decided and convinced his friends that they should basically live every day to the best, because you know what? We survived the rapture. Let's, party like there's no tomorrow, because, we're all screwed anyway. And actually, at the very end of it, one of them decides that they are going to be the Antichrist of the apocalypse, because heck, they might as well have the role, as opposed to anybody else picking up the role. And we'll see where it goes. It's amusing, not a stellar book, but it was fun. Next, I want to talk about Lot 13, number 3 in this horror book. This one has got massive blood and guts as our family tries to leave the house that they are in, and the spirits are not going to let them leave. Now, we're not really told why all that's happening. It seems at one point towards the beginning of this, the son who got sucked away befriends the family that was found suicided back in the 1800s that this whole miniseries started out with. He befriends them in a way, kind of helps them out, and so they try helping them out by helping them try to escape this nasty horde of stuff that's in this book. This one is mostly action and lots of swearing and freaking out as bad stuff happens. I'm going to show one page here just to give you an idea of how insane the art is in this. And I don't know, my video may be picking that up without too much glare. There is this giant zombie skeleton thing snatching people up. Here's more of our dead people who are befriended by the son of the family here. Nuts. Art is absolutely gorgeous. If you like looking at gorgeous versions of just sick, disgusting zombie rot people. Anyway, I'm still really enjoying the book. This issue didn't give us a whole lot of stories like the last issue did and whatnot. This is kind of like the middle. This thing is actually 5 issues long. This is everything's hitting the fan. Now I'm assuming we're going to spend the next 2 issues trying to square everything away and escape, or whatever is going to happen to these people and whatnot. Still really enjoying it. Really love the art. I mean, as far as it just being kind of a really creepy, gory, but very pretty artwork, it matches up so well for that. And so it's been kind of cool. Next, I'm going to talk about BPRD, Hell on Earth, The Abyss of Time, Part 1 of 2. This is issue 103. Starts a new little small little story arc, and the one thing right off the bat that irritates me is this story arc is set before the last issues that I just talked about and just read, where it was the rise of the Master and all this horrific stuff is happening all over the world. I mean, it's basically the world's ending kind of a deal. This is before that, right before the whole ending of the world thing. So that's kind of irritating. I don't like it when a story goes backwards and tells us something that happened before this. Why couldn't they have just fit it in to tell us that story then? So there is that. Artwork in this is by James Herring, and I think he does an excellent job. Of course, colors by Dave Stewart, so it's perfect mood. This is a really kind of interesting story, though. These 3 people who work for BPRD, they are led to some cultist place in the basement of some really old warehouse manufacturing type place as being kind of a weird place. They get there, they find out that this is like an old secret society, a real secret society as opposed to the Freemasons. They had a place here. Looks kind of like a place that that Hellboy had found in the past. They think the stuff that's in here is interesting. They kind of like to catalog a little bit, but right now with the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, this is pretty low. This is pretty small fry stuff, not that big a deal and whatnot. They're looking at some of their stuff. This weapon right here is in a display case. This one guy picks it up, and when he picks it up, it basically puts him into a coma or something like that. I don't know. He gets knocked out. And then the character wakes up, and he's in a different place. He's in a different body. He has been in a battle. His father has been slain. He has been given this weapon, the family weapon, in this, I don't know if it's the past, and they're fighting some sort of undead horde, or it's a future, and they're fighting some undead horde. But it tells a kind of a story about how this weapon came into the family's name. They know these cold ones. I'm assuming they're kind of vampires, so it shows some of them staked that they beat in battle. They have this valley where there's a whole bunch of them at. They're debating whether or not they're going to go there and kill them off. And so we set up the story, the second half of the story about what this guy's going to do in this other person's body. He can remember this life, but this life feels more like some sort of a crazy, weird dream. It must be because he's in this other savage land, kind of a thing. So it's an interesting story. All falls along the BPRD occult stuff. It's kind of cool. You could read this without having any prior knowledge of anything else whatsoever that really has to do with BPRD whatsoever, other than knowing that BPRD is a investigative military type force, and you're told all that when you open up the cover to the book. It was enjoyable and interesting. Like I said, my only irritation is it happened before the stuff that's happening now. So, and I don't know if it's going to play into the greater picture or not, or if it's just one of their kind of side arc stories that just fill in this universe even more. But still enjoyable. Dig the art. Art was really good. Okay, lastly, we are going to talk about this wonderful book that people are really digging called Change Number 2. Now, you should go watch people like Red Vitamin Blue's video on this. He does a review of number 1 and number 2. Talks about needing to be medicated while you read this. The other people that I remember right off the top of my head that have read this book and have talked about it, another YouTube channel that's just started out called Kiss My Comics. Captain Danny, I think her name is. That's what I want to say it is. I apologize if it's wrong if you're watching this. She read this after having read the first one, hoping to get answers in this one. There are very few answers in this issue. First off, I just want to talk about the cover. I absolutely love this cover. This white cover with the pill bottle being spilled all over the place is really cool. Now, does that have to do with anything in the story? I'm not 100% sure. Yes, it does kind of. We have our characters, the astronaut, the screenwriter, and W2, the rap artist. Still in here, still telling bits and pieces of their story. Things have gotten crazy. The occultists are bringing on New Atlantis. That's what they're worshiping and hoping for. People are still trying to kill the screenwriter. The screenwriter and the rapper end up meeting up. They're both on the run. The rapper's wife, he thinks, has disappeared, or she's vanished before his eyes. Craziness kind of ensues. The way this thing is told, it's told extremely broken up. It's like if you took a somewhat linear storyline and just hacked the bejesus out of it, like a kind of like William S. Burroughs did with Naked Lunch, except for instead of taking chapter by chapter and splitting it up and moving the chapters around, so you have chunks of story. This got chopped up even more than that. Our narrator of this thing, kind of the grand narrator, we get some back history on him. He was married to a girl with like multiple personalities who was heavily medicated, who ends up going off of her meds. I think that's why the med thing is in here. And he basically ends up taking him for all he's worth. And now he's kind of this kind of somewhat derelict, long beard, long hair, wandering type person we've got this shambling Shuggoth kind of a thing. If you're familiar with the Cthulhu mytho, sluthering around, making phone calls to W2 to set up our screenwriter. The screenwriter is still a major player in the whole thing. They're setting her up for some sort of trap, promising to give W2 back his wife. There was some confusion at the beginning of this. How did W2 and his wife get out of the safe room that they were in? It actually says at the beginning of the comic that he says, boy, see, it was pretty smart of me to have this beach entrance to our safe room. That's how they end up on the beach, through a cave. It does say that in there for those that are confused on how they suddenly end up on a beach. That's how, as far as that part goes. But there's lots of crazy. The astronaut is getting closer and closer to Earth. He's kind of losing it. He's going in and out of being relatively lucid to not so lucid. There's some sort of fire potentially going on the ship that he's trying to correct, because he's getting ready to, do the cold crash landing in the water or whatever of Earth. He's trying to ignore the giant black whatever it was that was in the ocean, and that sort of thing. This book is absolutely crazy. It's an extreme challenge to read. The art is cool in it as far as being indie style type art and whatnot. This isn't just a book you just lightly read and go, oh. But you can just read it and just read it for what it is, enjoy it for the trip. They kind of imply in the back of this, there's kind of an ad there for the next issue saying, hey, we're going to start giving you some answers and whatnot. Who knows what kind of answers we'll really get. This is only 4 issues long, whereas this is issue 2, and it's still just kind of totally bonkers about what all is going on in it. I personally am really enjoying it just because it is so strange. It is a challenge to read. It's just kind of nuts. You read it, and as you read it, you're kind of going, what? It's not that I don't get it, but I don't know what it is, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just reading it and liking the words that are there. I like the images that are there. So I'm just kind of going along on this whole thing. Is it ultimately going to be a successful story? I don't know if it is or not. Would I recommend this book to anybody else? No. I probably wouldn't. Like I said, for me, I'm enjoying it just because it is so kind of bonkers. It is so just kind of, fractured and stuff. It's not unreadable. It's not bad dialogue. It's not badly written. It may be badly structured as far as that kind of thing goes, because the structure of it is just a jumble of stuff and whatnot. But I kind of like that kind of thing. I wouldn't want all my comics like this, but having one comic like that is okay for me. I like the change. I like the different. And so I'm embracing that change. I'm embracing that different. And I'm finding it palatable just because for me it's fine. But then I'm the kind of person who can watch a movie that is kind of just jumbled all over the place too. And most people consider it a disaster, and I'm okay with it. So I'm curious to see how this stuff all ties together. I would hope that the writers are good enough that they will at some point title it. Now it's going to be some cleanly, neatly packaged thing. I sincerely doubt that. If it suddenly became that, they're going to have to do a radical change in the style of how they're writing and what they're telling us. But I would like to see it all kind of come together in some sense. But yeah, that's change. Look, I'm looking forward to issue 3. But then maybe I'm just mental. That's it for this time. Have a good one, everybody. And I will see you for the next No Capes.